There we go. We are now streaming to YouTube. See now where it says the Hangout is live?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead and let this stream. Now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to share my desktop with you.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to shrink that down. So now you should be seeing my desktop.
I am.
Okay. What I've got set up is I've got a series of images. Okay. And what we're looking at here is a standard color, false color infrared image. This one is 720 nanometers. It's not 590, but it's close enough that it's the same. I mean, it's the same stuff. Have you seen this image before?
This particular one, no. But it looks like many of the 720s I've taken myself.
Okay. Now, I know that this isn't going to mean anything to you, but see where my cursor is in the sky?
I do.
This is dead bronze.
Okay.
This is the color of bronze. It's dark bronze. Over here, it's lighter bronze.
Okay, and what is bronze made out of? Red and what other color?
Red, white, a little bit of I have to think of this. A little bit of yellow.
Okay.
And a very slight amount of green.
Okay. So
whereas gold is yellow, a little bit of red, and white to adjust for happiness.
Okay, so I can give you a basic idea. What I'm seeing is I'm seeing if you mix yellow and white and green, and then add a very, very pale base red to it, that very muddy color you'll end up with.
Okay.
That's more or less what I see.
All right. All right. This is what we're looking for on your camera if your camera is properly white balanced.
Okay, right.
All right.
And that's a blue sky there. Should be blue sky, right?
Well, no, the sky is bronze. Because,
well, but I mean, in the real world, that's blue.
Yes, it is blue.
Right.
Okay.
Rich blue, not overcast. We're talking 70-degree day, probably in the morning or in the evening.
Absolutely.
Got it.
Okay, now the trees, on a properly white balanced false color conversion, they're monochromatic with a slight blue tint.
Okay. I have never seen the blue in it, so
if you look over,
is there blue in there right now?
There is a very slight blue. And let me see. I have another version of this. Let me pull up. Let's move you over here. Let's pull up bridge and let's go here. Does that help?
It does, but well, I mean, I can see that there's a difference and it looks more blue, but is this proper or what happened that this looks like it does?
It's just two different white balances.
But which one's technically the right one?
This one with the more blue.
Okay.
Okay. So let's close that one. Go to that one. This one right here.
Okay.
All right. We still have a bronze up here. It's a little bit more dingy, but that's okay. But now the trees are monochromatic with a tint of blue. All right. Are you able to sense the blue at all?
I can see that there's a pale blue to it, but now I have a confusing question for you.
All right.
If you set your white balance based on healthy vegetation being grass, okay, why would a properly white balanced tree be blue?
Because grass and the trees have the chlorophyll in them.
Right, in different amounts. Is
that
right?
And the chlorophyll bounces back into the camera as monochromatic white with a cast of blue.
Okay, I just discovered one of my biggest problems that I've been doing in my post work. So
okay. All right. And down here, this is grass. See how it's the same shade of blue?
Yes.
Okay. So, as a starting point, when I'm working on these things, I will usually bump the saturation up, but I will do it in the Nik filters. Do you have the Nik filters?
I do. I do use Nik, and I know that Jamie mentioned that you rely on Nik fairly heavily.
Yes.
I'm curious why you prefer to use Nik over Photoshop.
Because I like the U-point technology that's built into Nik. There isn't
U-point. The control point, you mean?
Yeah, and that's they call it U-point technology.
Okay.
It is powerful. In fact, I do 99% of all of my editing in Nik. Photoshop becomes a wrapper and a noise cleaner.
That's pretty much what I do. I don't do that much post work, but okay. And honestly, I prefer Nik for the exact same reason as you. I just wanted to make sure that since Nik hasn't really been updated in a while.
No, it has been. It updated last week.
Okay, how do I get the update?
You have to go to DxO.
Okay, 1 second. I'm grabbing paper. And I know they got bought. Are they still supporting this as a new product?
Yeah. DxO bought it.
Yeah, and they're still doing it free?
No.
Okay.
The update's very cheap, though.
Okay.
I think it's $49.
Okay, I can look that up.
Yeah,
I knew Nik got bought out. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Yeah, here it is. They're talking about the update here, right here.
Yep.
There it is. DxO releases Nik Collection 2018. All right. So anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm already in a Nik filter, dummy. Is I'm going to go over here, and without putting a control point, I am going to bump the saturation up about 10%.
Right.
It's very minor. It's enhancing the blue, and I might bump the brightness up a slight little bit too. And I might add just a tiny bit of structure. And you understand what the structure is, right?
Yes, the separation between light and dark pixels, right?
Yeah, but it works on contrast. It's contrast-based sharpening.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to say okay. We're going to dump that back into Photoshop as an adjustment layer. So there's before, there's after. See, it's minor.
Right.
But it's enough that it makes a huge difference. And now I have a plugin. Do you have my plugin?
Which probably not your plugin. Are you talking? Which plugin is this? What is it doing?
The chromography.
I do not have a chromography plugin.
Okay, I'm going to show you where to get that. If you go to my blog, I have an educational blog. It is markhilliard@alair-blog.com. Here's the URL.
Right.
Okay. My network seems to be a bit slow. There it is. So we'll come up and we're going to go down to the bottom of the right-hand menu.
Yep.
All right. See this download?
Yep.
Click on that. And then go down till you find the chromography plugin right here. And simply click on it, and it's going, or you can select it too and click on download, but clicking on it's going to download it to your desktop.
Okay.
And then load it into your actions menu in Photoshop. It won't work in Lightroom.
Okay, I hate Lightroom anyway, so that's fine.
Okay, you know how to use actions and load actions?
Yes.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah, yeah. I currently have a channel swapping action that I use.
Oh well, this you don't want to use the old one. You want to go to the new one, and I'm going to show you why right now. This chromography. Okay. This is the new channel swap. Now I have the button mode turned on here. If I turn off the button mode, we can go down here and we will find film editing, infrared adjustments. But if you start it at the wrong location, it's gonna kill you. So I tell everybody just to turn on the button mode and then go down and click on infrared adjustments. Right here, okay?
Okay.
Now what it's gonna do is gonna do the channel swaps, just like that.
Right.
But it's gonna drop you into the hue and saturation window. And the reason for that is the skies always come out blue, green, or turquoise. So what I'm looking at right now in the sky, this is pure turquoise. It is not blue at all. Okay? So what we do is we bring up this hue and saturation window, and here where it says master,
right?
We click on that, we go down and we select cyan. And then you adjust the slider here under hue to take it into the blue area, but you don't have to go far because you can go too far and get into the purple. Okay, when you find a blue that you like, which is going to be right in the beginning of the scale, then you might want to lighten it a little too. Because there's nothing worse than an infrared picture that's just blown out blue. You know what I'm saying?
I completely agree with you.
Okay.
Now, here's a question. Since I can't, when you were saying that was teal or aqua or whatever color it was, I couldn't see that. It looked blue to me.
Oh, it wasn't. It was heavy blue-green.
Yeah, I could not see the green in there. It looked like a blue. Well, it was a pale blue, but it looked blue to me. Is there any tool within Photoshop that I can go over that is going to tell me what that color being sampled is? I mean, I know I can pull it down into the color sampler, but it doesn't tell me what that color is.
Well, let's look at something here. I can click on it. And you see here, let's click on different areas.
Yeah, I see it selecting down on the toolbar on the left-hand side.
Yeah, but it's not really showing the way I want. If we go,
because what you're running into right now is my first problem, and you can imagine why this gets so bad with a 590. Because I can't make a 590 look decent to save money unless it's people. I can make 590 people look all right, but if I use Nick and I have a cheater way of doing it that I just happen to luck into figuring out.
All right. Well, the best thing I can tell you is right now, tell me what colors you see in this top slider.
It's what I would call yellow is on the left-hand side. Yellow from all the way to the side. That's a dark, muddy yellow to it's still yellow. Still yellow.
All right, we're in bright. We're bright green here.
Okay.
Oh, right here. What do you see?
That's blue. That's all blue.
Okay.
Except for the far end looks like what I would call red.
Yeah, this is red too. This is red and yellow mixed. And then here we go into green. So the fact that you can tell that this is blue, you're simply going to take the slider and move it slightly, just hardly anything. And I've gone like +5, +2, and I've already got a nice blue sky.
Okay.
And that's all you need to do. Now you can also go down into the reds, And on the reds, you can adjust saturation. And you can see it changing on the screen.
I can see stuff changing.
Yeah. It's weird changes, okay?
But I don't see the red, what you're doing there. I don't see it until
right here.
you get into plus 55 I can see a difference, but little adjustment, I don't see that at all.
Yeah, well, very rarely do you get any adjustment in the reds or the magentas.
Okay.
All right. So I just wanted to tell you, see here, I'm not getting any, well, not here. I'm starting to get changes here.
Yeah, I see something at 100, and it's really minor.
Yeah. Typically what I do though is I just adjust the hue of the cyan channel to fix the sky, because the sky is incredibly annoying.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with that.
And I'll say, okay, and it saves it as an adjustment layer. Okay. I am done with the actions. I'm going to go into Vivisa again. And Nick, now I'm going to work in and you know what? You don't always have to work here at first. Do you ever play with Color Effects Pro?
Yes. Yes, actually, there within Color Effects Pro, there's a handful of things that I use with people quite a bit. I can't remember if it's cross balance or cross processing. If you take a properly white balanced human in cross balance or cross processing, you can get real close to skin tone back, and it leaves the hair a really, really cool blue.
Okay.
That's that cheater method I was telling you about.
Hey, whatever works. But there's also a recipe in here called Tonal Contrast.
Okay.
Infrared images have a tendency to be ultra low contrast out of the camera.
I do notice I jack my contrast up quite a bit.
But if you go into the tonal contrast, which is over here towards the bottom, it's right here.
Right.
Okay. And then just start with your highlights and go up and down. And with the highlights, we're looking at the trees. See the tops of the trees changing? By me, watch right here.
Okay.
All right.
I was looking at the very top of the picture. So
no, right here, or
okay,
here, even here. Okay.
All right, I'm looking at it, and I do not see it. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Okay. By bumping this up, we're adding overall image contrast.
Okay. Now I'm noticing you're going like way up on that 70, 80, sometimes 90%.
Yeah, but it's only affecting this small area here.
Right, but since this image is no longer a raw image, it only has the data that we're looking at to play with. By playing with these, how much noise are we going to introduce?
We're not going to introduce. We're not going to start really introducing noise until we start working on the sky.
Okay.
It's the dark areas where we're going to pump the noise up. Okay. Okay. Let's go to the midtones. The midtones are going to attack the sky. See that?
Okay.
All right, and you can go up to grunge, but there are other filters that are better for that. I'm going to set this kind of in the middle of the range so I don't bump up the noise. The shadows, of course, are going to be down in the creek and on the covered bridge. I am going to bump those up a little because I need that bridge to really stand out.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I do a lot of this work in the raw plugin, but I think this is a much smoother way of doing it.
Mm-hmm. Are you using Adobe's ACR?
Yes.
All right. There aren't many people that edit in the raw. As far as I knew until I talked to you, I thought that I was the only one.
No, honestly, most of my work is done in RAW.
Well, you have the extra data to work with.
That's why I try to stay there. Noise kills me. I can deal with a little bit in a landscape image, but when you start dealing with people, I just cannot stand noise. And I know noise is a natural artifact of infrared, But if I can do infrared without noise, that makes me a little bit different. And that's kind of what I push for.
Okay. So now let's look at the before and after we did tonal contrast.
Oh God, there's a huge difference. I can tell you that already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now the next thing I want to do is I want to bring up Vivisa. That really is all these other recipes built into Nick are based on Vivisa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I'm a fan of Vivisa. I used it a little bit before Jamie walked us through and showed some of it, and I've used it a bunch since then.
Okay, well that's a good thing. Now my philosophy on photography, on the difference between a good image and a bad image, is that a good image has stair steps of color or contrast changes from left to right or right to left and up and down that present themselves as a set of visual stair steps for the viewer to step in and around the image.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go across these trees and I'm going to make these stair steps. All right. And I'm going to use color contrast changes for the trees. I'm going to put a control point on this first ugly white-green tree. I'm going to brighten it. I'm going to add red. All right. And then
now, why red? Because I'm not seeing any of that come in. Why are you choosing red?
I'm going to turn the tree to pink.
Oh, okay.
All right. There we go. I'm going to add a bit of structure. Okay. And now I'm going to copy that control point around that tree. You know how to copy pre-done control points?
Shift click, if I remember right.
All right. On this, it's option click because I'm running a Mac. I used to be a PC only guy back when I was working in engineering at Kodak, but I learned that I prefer the Mac because I like Unix.
Unix was written by people who hated everybody else.
I know. Well, that's all I used at Kodak was Unix.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, as soon as the first time I had to use a VI editor that didn't even allow you to use arrow keys.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand why they did it that way, but they hated everybody.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I would even do worse than that. I would use eRoth, which you embed tokens in your document to format it on output.
Okay, see, I've never even heard of that. So, but I'm guessing you were probably hammering on Unix a little bit before. I didn't start touching Unix until 2001.
Oh man, by 2001, I'd been retired.
Yeah, no, and the Unix I used was a specific flavor built specifically for a database. So I can spell awk, but I can't tell you what it does.
Oh, see, I can eat and sleep and dream in awk.
Oh.
Okay.
I can have nightmares about trying to read about it, but
all right, so I'm going to put control point on this tree here and that tree up there, and I'm going to change this second level of trees here to a different color to make that step.
Okay. Now here's a question: as you're doing this, when you already have a control point on the ground, okay, the control point sits and you've got it's a circle. You know, it filters out from there. If you drop another control point close to it, do those two control points then form a Venn diagram?
Well, yeah, they actually that's a real good.
They cancel each other out.
No, it is kind of a Venn diagram. That's an interesting way of looking at it. We call them anchor points. So if here, for example, I've changed this tree to yellow, and
I can see that. I see that difference.
I added red, I added a wee bit of green, and I took away blue.
Okay.
Okay. I brightened it up a little. There we go. A little bit more. Now, if I drop another control point right here, okay, where did I put it? There, I gotta make it smaller. You see how I canceled that out under that control point?
So they cancel each other as opposed to they both try to compete.
No, as long as you don't make adjustments to the second control point, what we call the anchor point, it takes the image under it back to the original.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
So if you could put in a series of initial points down, you know, copy them, and you might have 4 or 5 of those, and then you could go put a series of anchor points, say, around that bridge, and you could affect all the colors in the vegetation and have 4 or 5 different colors. But with those anchor points, you make sure none of that color bleeds onto the building itself.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, now
that's rather ingenious on their part.
Now, you see here how this yellow has affected this bright tree in the background?
I do.
I'm just going to put an anchor point on that, and I'm going to take it back to the white.
Okay.
All right. And I'm going to copy this yellow up here to the top. And I had an anchor point there that I'm going to take away. And I'm going to copy a pink one.
Okay, and through my eyes, it kind of looks like you're building a rainbow. You have
that. Well, yeah.
It's not pink to me. It's I can't even describe what it is on the right side. But then I see this yellow stripe, and it very clearly looks like a rainbow. Yeah.
What I'm doing is I'm building color contrast changes going from left to right across the image to walk the viewer into the image.
Right, the stair steps you were initially speaking of.
Yeah. So now I'm going to do something with this tree over here. I don't need more white. I don't need more pink, and I don't need yellow. So let's. And this is all subjective. And now there's a reason for this. We're going to make this a light pink. Okay.
Okay.
False color infrared is based on Kodak Aerochrome infrared film, which was designed during World War I to be able to see enemy assets on the ground that the human eye might miss.
Okay, and that's what you initially worked for when you were worked on when you were in the military, correct?
No, that was way before my time.
Oh, okay.
But I did work on it at Kodak. Now, notice I'm changing the tree on the extreme left, and I'm not using the color sliders. I'm just adding warmth.
Yep.
To make it brownish. Okay, now.
Is it brown?
Yeah, it's kind of a orangish brown.
Okay.
Okay. So now.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to have to do is whenever I test any of these things, I'm going to have to go back into the hue saturation and see where, and then do a color sample.
Yeah.
And see where it pulls up on that bar. I'm going to have to build me a process.
Okay. But you see how the steps, even I mean, yes. Well, maybe you can't, but
I can see there's different colors. I just can't tell you what they necessarily are.
Okay. Now things like buildings, this covered bridge.
Yep.
I'm going to desaturate it. I'm going to go right to monochrome. I'm going to add structure.
Right.
Okay, believe it or not, structure adds a little bit of brightness, and it brings out tonality in that. And then I'm just going to copy that around.
Yeah, I had noticed that about that working in the raw plugin, watching the histogram.
Okay. All right. Now, down here in the grass, I'm just working. I work my way across. Now I'm working my way down. Actually, let's leave that there. Let's go grab a yellow and put the yellow down here in the grass.
Okay, and even though you put that yellow down there after the anchor point is set, the anchor point will still null that out, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we're just going to...
That's what it looked like it was doing. And seeing what you just did right there,
yeah,
that finally brought the image together for me.
Okay.
See, because and I didn't know why it didn't look right, but that little details.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go work on the sky real quick here.
Okay, is there something wrong? Is there something wrong with the sky right now? Because we just made it blue.
Well, the control points up here added a bit of red to the sky.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to drop an anchor point there and take it back to the blue.
Okay, so I just need to form a habit of, since I built the blue first, drop some anchors on top of it and just make sure that I didn't muck it up somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
What about the blue that you can see through the trees, through the tree branches?
You can drop an anchor point there if you desire. And as long as it's spread out, it'll get all of the areas to the tree.
Oh,
now, another thing I like to do is on the clouds, I much prefer clouds that aren't blue. So I will go in and I will decrease the saturation of the clouds, taking them towards monochrome. And then I will brighten them a wee bit. There we go.
Now, why isn't that affecting the blue behind the cloud, though?
Because wherever I put my anchor point, it's sampling the color. All right, and I already have a big anchor point here.
Oh, okay. See, I had a misunderstanding on the tool. I thought that the larger the ring was, it sampled everything in that ring and it affected it.
No.
So you could, if you were being really persnickety, you could theoretically have 15 points within very close proximity to one another because you're making minor adjustments to.
Well, yes and no. When you start to do that, you have to be real careful because you're going to start to get circular artifacts.
Okay.
Because what happens in this ring, let's go pick out a large ring right here. See that ring?
Yep, pretty good size.
The effect starts out really, really strong in the center, and it graduates down as it reaches out towards the edge.
Right.
Okay. So if you have a bunch of really small circles,
they're not going to bleed out.
They're not going to bleed out. Okay. So now let's go look at one other thing. See this water down here?
Oh, I couldn't actually tell that was water.
It is.
I thought it was brown. Okay.
It is. It's water.
Yeah, that needs to have a color there.
It needs to have a bit of blue and a bit of brightness. There we go.
Okay.
Just a wee bit, not a lot.
Okay, and it was due to these control points that you were saying would be able to fix that really weird colored sky that I had on the one image that I showed you.
Yes.
On the mill.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay, so now I brought the water in. Now I want to go over here to the rock. And I want to totally desaturate the rocks.
Okay.
All right, and the stone path.
Right.
All right, and these stones over here. And actually, I'm going to brighten that one to isolate it from the tree.
Right.
And I'm going to go up here. I've got a little bit of yellow where I don't want it. There we go. And let's darken that a bit. There we go. Get our contrast back and put some on these rocks here in the creek. And then let's blow out of here, okay? We'll say, okay, it'll create a new adjustment layer. All right.
Yeah, that's substantially better.
So now here's before. This is, and the before, let me shrink this false color down. This is the tonal contrast we did to bring the sky out, okay?
Right.
Here's the color swap action.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we'll turn these all back on. And like I said, false color, this is highly subjective.
Sure.
like I said, this is patterned after the Kodak Aerochrome. And what Kodak did is on the color film, I'm going to let you guess. What do you think they did on the color film?
Oh, wow. Well, considering the color of the film is basically a negative image to begin with, I figured.
Well, no, think of it as a positive image. That'll help you. They swapped the red layer and the blue layer.
I didn't realize film had layers to it.
Oh my God, color film probably has 19 or 20 layers.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, digital's my world.
Okay. All right.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep. So that's why we swapped the red and the blue channels to take us into that aerochrome world.
Okay.
All right. So, like I said, this is highly subjective. This is, you do this till you get an image that you like. And trust me.
And is it the same process with a 590? Just you have more you just have more variability?
Yeah, you have more color.
Okay.
Okay. It is exactly the same in 590. But you'll edit multiple, maybe get rid of this raw. Here's a different version that I did some time ago. Here's the version we did just now. All right, and they're always going to be different. I like the one tonight better.
I kind of do too. I couldn't tell you why. I do.
Okay. But this is how we do it. These are the tools that we use. And that's why I'm recording this for you tonight, so that you can refer back to it should you choose.
I would like to, yeah.
All right.
Now, is there, because I mean, obviously I want to learn the color, but since predominantly the work I do is black and white, is there anything different you do when you're processing black and white?
Yes, I always adjust the color first. Always, always, always.
Okay, why is that?
See, that was the magic question. Because the black and white converters use the difference in color data in the color channels to apply black and white effects. And if you don't do the color adjustments first, you're taking away data for the black and white converter to use.
Okay.
All right. So now we've done this. We have done the color version. So let's go do the black and white. I'm going to use Silver Effects Pro because it is the greatest black and white converter that God has seen forth to put on the earth.
I completely agree with you. I am a big fan, and I use this. I'm in here often. The only time I don't use it is, again, whenever I'm using people and when I'm shooting people and I get banding because the contrast just gets too great.
Yeah.
Then I will manually use the black and white tool within Photoshop and then go back into the raw plugin to adjust from there. Okay. But it's a much more arduous process. I would much prefer to play right here where we already are. Okay.
Well, you use Silver, so you know about the recipes. I have some basic ones that I like. I like number 5.
Structure.
High structure, high contrast.
I generally look at or the structure, harsh and smooth. Those are the first two that I look at.
Yep, 5 and 6. Always. 5 and 6. Actually, I like 5 for this image better, going back and forth. I get more depth. Okay.
Go to the other one for a second. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I'll go down into the teens, and I'll start here. 15. That gives me even greater depth. The sky still's not, it doesn't have lines in it. 16 is that's just too much. That's okay. Full spectrum inverse, ick.
Yeah, I don't know. I might be seeing it slightly different because I'm over a not necessarily super high resolution.
Okay.
Screen share.
I like the fine art process. I like those. And once in a while, wet rocks will work. But wet rocks can really be grungy. You have to be real careful.
Yeah.
All right. But I tend to leave it on neutral. And then I go over here and I adjust my highlights, midtones, and shadows separately.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to bring up my highlights until I have it where I like it. Let's look at the midtones. Come on, Mark, get it. There we go. Let's take the midtones down to give it a more moody feel.
Yep.
Well, let's look at the shadows. I am going to bump the shadows down a little to bring some real darkness in the sky up here, but leave this alone here.
Yep.
Then you can adjust overall brightness. Okay. And if you get it to where you like, but there's just one part you don't like, you can add a control point on that. And what you're going to do is you can change opacity, you can change all kinds of things. But you can just brighten it up too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, generally the process I've used in the past is I try to get fairly close within here, and then I go back into the raw plugin and I play it. I got a lot of faith in the raw plugin because I've used it a bunch.
Yeah. Okay, and that is the black and white. And as long as you have lots of data storage space, you can leave your image in layers, adjustment layers. So if you want black and white, you can click it on. If you want color, you can click it on. All right. But each one of these multiplies your file times by 4.
Awesome.
Yeah, life is good.
Yeah, well, I got 6 terabytes, so
yeah.
I'm not worried about that right now. Very interesting.
Okay. And then I might go in with Vivisa again and change these contrasts.
Okay, so while you're doing that, let me ask you this. Have you had other than the images that I've sent you that were specifically problem images, have you looked over any of my past work?
I think I went to a website somewhere and looked. And I think am I confusing you with somebody else? You have a website out there?
I've got a smug mug that I have some information out on, and I have a view bug that I have some information out on.
No, probably not then. Probably not.
Okay.
But let's talk about some of these other things.
Okay.
Forget about your paperwork. You've got a handle on that. Okay, you've got you've got your workarounds. If you're shooting landscapes, I am thinking that you are probably better off having a 850 nanometer conversion and just working in black and white, because white balance has no effect on it.
Yeah, that is.
And all you have to do is when you get it into Photoshop is you have to boost contrast, because the 850 nanometer filters, one of the side effects to those is they lose the contrast. Okay, so you have to boost contrasts and sharpness and things like that. But there's no color data that you ever have to fuss with. Right.
Okay. And I have been giving very, very serious thought to that Fuji camera that you were talking about.
The XT1?
Yeah, and the conversion that I'm specifically considering going with is the and I lose track of the creative names that everybody has for these. You know, the super color, high color, this color, that color. Just give me the nanometer. And anyway, the one that not Kalari Vision. The other company just came out with
Life Pixel. Oh, you're talking about their new.
It's like a 430.
Yeah, well, it's way more than that. It's centered at 430.
Okay, but I was go ahead.
And that was one of the ones I was going to suggest to you. Life Pixel has two different ones.
Oh, really?
They have one called the Super Blue. And they have this new one. What the hell is it called?
See, and if I go with a 430, I can always put an 850
No, you can't.
Why not?
Because the Super Blue and this other new one from Life Pixel, they're tri-band pass filters. And what they do is they let a little tiny bit of ultraviolet in. They let a bunch of color in the visual spectrum, and they let a little tiny bit of infrared in, and they mix. But because they're tri-band pass filters, they will stop anything that's real high, like 800, 850, from going through.
Got it.
Okay. And now the same is true with the Super Blue. The Super Blue is basically a camera that gives you in-camera 590 nanometer false color, already done and edited. You don't have to edit it. But it's going to give normal skin tones.
Okay. Now, when it gives normal skin tones, though, it's going to pick up things like tan lines, sunburn, skin blemishes, stuff like that, right?
Yes.
Okay. See, that's one of the things I really like about shooting a human in like 720 is assuming you don't get veins sticking through the skin, which
you can do
sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes they can come out looking pretty not good. But if you get the right person, man, it does not matter what their skin looks like, because so much of it is going to just drift away into ivory.
Yeah, and I call them plastic skin girls.
Yeah, they can look a little plasticky. I try to get sharp enough that you can actually see the detail, the lines in the skin. So it's not so smooth. But yeah, I mean, I like you said, I feel like I'm doing okay with the humans. It's trying to figure out these darn trees that is killing me.
Yeah.
Now, if what you're saying, if that 430 is a bandpass, that's not going to work for me, because I don't want to have two cameras. I would really like to just roll with one.
Well, that's going to be impossible with that camera, or with that
right, conversion. That's what you're saying. But with a 590 up, I still can.
Yes.
Because that's just a single pass.
But there's a real advantage for you to go with one of those two Life Pixel conversions.
And what's that?
They come out nice. They come out pre-edited. Okay, they come out of the camera looking good. And that newest one from Life Pixel, that one will take a normal color white balance. You can put it in auto and it will work just fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Now, if you do this on a mirrorless camera, you also no longer have to worry about focus issues. That's
the other reason I'm interested in the Fuji is, again, with humans, it's in a studio. Focus isn't a problem because they're close. A tree, a football field length away, it's hard for me to get focused.
Okay, well, I do have a suggestion for you. Call Life Pixel and ask them if you send them a camera to do with the clear glass replacement, full spectrum. If you tell them you want to do a full spectrum, but you want that new filter, do they offer the filter to put on the lens?
Oh, that's a good question.
Okay. And if they say yes, then you can put any filter on it. You can put a 590, you can put a 665, a 720, 800, 850.
Okay. Yeah, I was jotting that down. So full spectrum, 430 on lens. Okay.
Okay.
Now, as far as when you're out shooting and you've got, say, a single camera that you may have, the internal sensor set at 590, but you have external filters that you might shoot at 720 and then at 850. Okay, so you've got 3 different IR levels that you're going to shoot on during that day.
Yeah.
Aside from being able to just look at your images and tell which one is 720 or 590, because I may or may not be able to do that, how do you have a process to tell which ones are the 590s and which ones are the 720s?
I will judge it by the amount of color that's being recorded.
Okay.
720 is going to be much less color.
Okay.
590, the yellows are going to be gold. 590 is called super color. It's also called goldy because the yellows have a tendency to drift to gold.
Okay.
665, the yellows tend to drift to pink.
Okay.
All right. And
is there anything that they drift towards red?
Yeah, that's if you don't have a good white balance. But the answer is no.
Okay.
Okay. 720, kind of a pale pink. 665 is a bright pink.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, I was going to suggest those 2 conversions. One's called the super blue. And what is that other one called? Let's go.
Is it hyper blue or something?
Hypercolor. That's what it is, hypercolor.
Yeah, I reached out to the gentleman that lives here, I think in Redbud, close to St. Louis, Dave Wampler, I think.
Dan.
Yeah, Dan. And I tried to initiate a conversation with him regarding that, and it just didn't go very far. So
well, he told me you contacted him. He is one of my assistants on the infrared group.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that he has a number of pictures from the St. Louis area on the LifePixel website that they use for advertisements. So I figure he's fairly.
Yeah, he's the education guy. That's what he does. Okay, he runs workshops.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, very very expensive workshops, by the way.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, he's very good. I like Dan.
Oh, I don't have anything against him. I just, partially because I live in the St. Louis area and I could go shoot any of those things anytime I wanted to anyway, but I would have rather gone to the East Coast and hang out looking at boats.
Yeah, I get to say my family's all in St. Louis. I'll get to there once in a while.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I feel sorry for your family that lives in St. Louis. It sucks here.
Well, they like it.
There's a lot more interesting things to shoot on the East Coast than there is around here.
Yeah, I don't see anything on the hypercolor. Let's go to we'll go to Dan's. Did you join the infrared group on Facebook?
Yeah, I'm actually in a couple of the different infrared groups. I watch for the most part. A lot of the things that I notice is
this one.
A lot of people share False Color, and I'm not sure how many people know what they're doing on it. So it's kind of confusing to me because I'm not sure I see what they're trying to show. So I don't know. I pay attention, but not pay attention. I don't know. That sounds terrible, but I do watch the group very closely, looking for ideas or motivation.
All right, I'm looking through our group right now for one of Dan's model pictures in hypercolor. He was posting a bunch of those earlier. Let's see here. Oh, here. You know what? Let's do this. Let me show you the difference here. Share the screen again. There we go. Okay, this image. This is 590 nanometers.
Yeah, that looks pretty familiar.
Okay, this one was of a mill up in West Virginia.
Yep, I shot that 2 weeks ago. So yeah.
Okay, so now let's go back to Dan. Here is a hyper. Yep, here's a hypercolor image of a flower. And I'm willing to bet that flower was indeed white.
Okay.
All right. Now, I'm going to, because you are interested in people, so let's go to.
Somewhat. I have more success with people, so I'm more interested in figuring out the vegetation, but less people shoot, or less of us shoot people. So it's easier to stick out, I guess.
Yeah.
I know I have posted almost no humans in this group.
Well, that's because in this group, there you go. There's a people person in hypercolor.
Okay.
Okay. Now, because it's that tri-band, see, we're getting a lot of purples and pinks.
No, I thought all that was blue. So
no. These are all purples.
Okay.
These flowers are kind of a dirty pink. The skin tone is perfect. Her hair is kind of coming down. It's dark here, and it's kind of coming down reddish purple.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it just looked like a blonde to me. Now that he's talking about it being the lens baby Velvet 85, what difference is that lens making in this image?
It's soft around. It's a soft focus lens.
Okay, so that wasn't done in post then.
No. This was done in the lens.
Okay.
All right. So let's close that. Let's go on down and see what else we can find. There's a black and white done in hypercolor. It actually did a decent job in converting it. Oops. Oh, look at this. I clicked on it. It took me to their hypercolor page.
See, I don't think I like that black and white.
Well, it's a little muddy, but you can fix that.
Yeah, I don't know. Because one of the things I like about infrared and black and white is the enormous amount of detail that you get that you can't get with a normal lens.
Mm-hmm.
Infrared just had, and I've had many discussions with people who argue with me on this, but no, you get so much more detail with a good IR image.
Yeah, but to see here, he's showing you how to get different effects for a hypercolor black and white conversion by using your color sliders.
Yeah.
Okay. There's really, they have a lot of good data here. Now, see, I like this black and white image. I like the way this one was done. It's got good contrast, good skin tones.
Yeah, that one is not bad. And I think that maybe part of my problem with that last one is I didn't like that lens. I'm not a fan of soft images.
Yeah, and see, these are all Dan's pictures, see?
Okay.
All right. So that gives you some idea. Let's see if we can do one other search. Let's do super blue. There we go. See, these are straight out of the camera now. All right.
Okay, that's it.
No adjustments whatsoever. Blue sky, kind of yellowish green. but that's probably because of the white balance. With the super blue, you can white balance on the blue sky, or you can white balance on the grass. And the white balance on the grass gives you a more normal yellow.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, you were talking about getting a camera and sending it to LifePixel. LifePixel actually, they have it set up so you can buy that Fuji through them and then select whatever conversion you want.
Oh yeah, a lot of companies do that.
Yeah, I guess it's like 1,400. Is there any benefit to buying it separate and then sending it to them as opposed to just buying it directly from them?
Well, if you buy it directly from them, you're getting a new camera.
Right. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and you're better off with a new camera because you're not buying someone else's issues.
You had a polite way of saying that, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of people say that when they're going to shoot infrared, they are going to not spend a lot of money. Me, I'm just the opposite.
I have had enough people pressuring me to start selling stuff that I am considering taking it seriously enough that I'm thinking about investing some money into it.
Okay. Well, what I would do is I would contact LifePixel, and please tell them that I told you to contact them. They think I don't like them. Because I have an established relationship with
Kalari.
Yeah, with Kalari, and I did with Spencer's camera, and I did with Max, but it's all Kalari now. But I like LifePixel. I think they've got great products. They've got good customer support. But they've got too many other photographers associated with them, and I didn't want to be part of the crowd.
Got it. Now, may I share my screen to get your opinion on a couple images as far as my post work on them?
Absolutely. Let me stop the broadcast.